In a dense African forest, animals of all kinds live together in harmony. Among them were a clever tortoise named Nuru and a proud elephant named Tembo. Nuru was small and slow, but known for his wit and resourcefulness. Tembo, on the other hand, was the largest and strongest animal in the forest, and he often boasted about his size and strength. One sunny morning, Tembo was strutting around, showing off his mighty tusks and bragging to anyone who would listen. "I am the strongest animal in the forest. No one can match my power." Nuru, who was quietly munching on some leaves nearby, decided it was time to teach Tembo a lesson in humility. He approached the big elephant and said, "Tembo, strength is not the only thing that matters. Sometimes cleverness can be more powerful." Tembo laughed loudly. "What can a tiny tortoise like you do? You are slow and weak." Nuru smiled and replied, "How about a challenge, Tembo? Let's see who can touch the top of that tall tree first." Tembo looked at the tree and then at Nuru. "This will be easy. I can reach it with my trunk in no time," he boasted. Nuru nodded. "But there's a rule. We start from the base of the tree and climb up using only our own abilities." Tembo agreed, confident that he would win. The other animals gathered to watch the contest, curious to see how Nuru would compete with the mighty elephant. The race began. Tembo, with his long trunk, started pulling himself up the tree, but his massive weight made it difficult. The branches creaked and groaned under his weight, and he struggled to find a good grip. Meanwhile, Nuru slowly and steadily began climbing, using his small size to his advantage. He found tiny grooves and notches in the tree bark that Tembo couldn't use. As Tembo grew tired and frustrated, Nuru kept climbing, one small step at a time. The other animals cheered for both competitors, but soon it became clear that Nuru's methodical approach was working better. Tembo, exhausted and unable to climb any higher, watched in disbelief as Nuru reached the top of the tree and touched the highest branch. The crowd erupted in applause. Nuru climbed down carefully and approached the panting Tembo. "You see, Tembo, it's not always about strength. Sometimes being clever and patient is more important." Tembo hung his head, humbled by the tortoise's wisdom. "You are right, Nuru. I was too proud and underestimated you. From now on, I will respect others' abilities and learn from them." Nuru smiled. "We all have our strengths, Tembo. It's important to recognize and appreciate them." From that day on, Tembo became a wiser and more humble leader in the forest, and he and Nuru became good friends. The animals of the forest lived happily, knowing that both strength and wisdom were valued in their community. And so, the story of the clever tortoise and the proud elephant was passed down through generations, teaching everyone the importance of humility and the power of intelligence.